I stepped on a square and cranked a crank until the square took me all the way to the crescent moon. I took a bite, and sure enough, it was cheese. Then I sat on the moon. I took a fishing pole and dropped a line down to earth. When I reeled it in, there was a note which read, "Our stations in heaven are based on our actions on earth." Then Aunt Jemima came and gave me a big smooch. She lit a fire and roasted some marshmallows. Then she gave me a cup of tea and said, "Drink this." I said, "What is it?" She said, "The tears from earth." I asked, "Why is it so hard on earth?" She said, "Because we think we are all alone, which isn't true. We are never alone." Then an African tribe came and danced around the fire. I started shaking my body in furious dance until my white skin fell off and I was black. Then I stepped on the square and cranked myself back to earth. I grabbed a vine and started climbing upwards, past the clouds, past the stars, past the moon, to a place full of pink light. I found a pack of cigarettes and lit one. Then Bugs Bunny came running around. He pushed me into a chair. My childhood dog came to the right of the chair. I petted him and smoked as Bugs conducted a show. A bee carried me a jar of honey, and I stuck my finger in to taste it. Hawaiian hula dancers danced in front of me. There was also an African break dancer. Then Bugs said, "And now, ladies and gentlemen, here comes something you will never see on earth." A man came forth and turned into two men kissing each other, then turned into two girls kissing each other. Then he stood as one man and reached to the top of his head and unzipped himself. There stood a snail. Then the snail unzipped himself, and there stood a bird. The bird flew away. Then Bigfoot came and put me on his shoulder. He put a white veil upon my head. It started to rain, so he gave me a red umbrella. We came to a red door. He set me down in front of the door and nudged me to walk through. I left the umbrella and veil and walked inside. It was a smoky ballroom filled with people everywhere dancing. I sat down on a couch. I was handed a drink. I drank it, then found myself on a crowded dance floor. I heard a voice. It said, "Because of the virus on Earth, this is what you are missing." The bodies were touching each other, moving with the music, and then everyone disrobed. There was a sea of skin, moving, dancing, touching. Then the crowd parted, and Frank Moore was there in a wheelchair. He smiled and got up to walk. He led me out the back door, and we pulled a red string until we were at a camping site. A fire was burning. We sat and cooked marshmallows and chicken on a stick. He told me that humans and everything on Earth is holy. We need to treat Earth as if she is holy and stop destroying her. For a few minutes, we were in the sea hugging whales. Then we were back on the fire. He said, "Let me take you back to the elevator, back down to Earth." As I was going downward in the elevator, he yelled down the shaft, "The only way to defeat deceit is to hold a mirror to it." I threw white flowers on the ocean and used them to walk across the ocean and across time to Europe. When I came to the shore, I fell into the water. Then I walked barefoot upon sand to a forest where there was a small cabin. Inside, a bearded, dark-haired man sat at a wooden table with an oil lamp lit. I sat across from him. He said, "You must remember yourself." He then took out a pen, dipped it in ink, and threw a spiral circle upon the paper. Then he pressed the paper to my heart. "You must spiral through all the human hearts you have beating with your soul." He spoke. And as I was doing this, a woman and child sat next to him. She spoke to me about a few personal things I don't wish to mention. Then suddenly the door was knocked down by a mob of people carrying torches. They set the cabin on fire. They took us to the bedroom. He shut the door and opened a secret hatch on the floor. We climbed downward to a tunnel-like cave. As we walked, I noticed ancient cave drawings upon the wall. "Remember yourself now," spoke the man. He came up by a mountain, and a huge bird-like dinosaur flew with 3 people riding upon it. They landed and got off and put me on and said, "You must go to Africa now." So the bird flew me to Africa. When I landed, there was a loud drumming and dancing and worship around a fire. They painted my body, put jewelry on me, and I took my top off to dance with them. Then a man came and said, "Carl Jung once wishes to speak to you." He took me to a tent. When he opened up the flap, Carl had his back to me and was at a desk writing. He got up and told me, "You hit rock bottom this lifetime. There is nowhere to go but up from here," he said. "So look up and remember yourself. You are extraordinary. You are not like most people of your time who are obsessed with credit cards and keep buying and hoarding stuff. Your soul has African roots. You remember the fire and the dance, and that's all your soul needs." Then he wrapped snakes around both my arms. I did arm circles with them crawling on me. He tossed a coin in the air. He said, "With a flip of a coin, your life can change. Remember the magic of life." Then I saw the vines of flowers crawl up a tree. Then he said, "You must return, but I will be eager to see what you will do next." Then he threw a rope across the ocean. I walked 1 foot in front of the other back to Ohio. I started jumping high until I jumped on a surfboard that I rode all the way to Saturn. I was riding its outer rings until I saw a pool of water on its surface and jumped into the water. When I emerged onto the beach, I lay in the sand with my feet in the water and arms outstretched. A man from India laid 2 white flowers inside my hands, then gave me a foot massage. As he was massaging, he told me, "Your years of a tormented artist are over. Finally, you see that there is great magic for each individual inside every day. You understand the great ways. The people are separated into different races, but we are all sand and water. Come now, climb this mountain with me." When we did, there was a volcano at the top. He told me to throw a stone into it and make a wish. I said, "I wish that love would prevail on earth." Then I got on the surfboard and floated around the rings and surfed back to earth. I began walking with a large walking stick to California. I crossed a bridge to Japan. When I arrived, I saw foreign architecture and Buddhist temples. I kept walking till I saw a person throwing red carnations at a foot of a Buddhist statue. People gathered in a circle and held hands. I joined in circling the statue. Then we all sat Indian style with our palms turned up on our knees. We all began to levitate. We floated up and down, then our circle began to rotate. Then we all lay horizontal to the earth as we floated, and the sky was full of stars. Someone dropped a rope from the sky with a big piñata. We all sat up, and one man grabbed a stick and broke it open. Tiny pieces of paper scattered. We all went to the ground to see what it had to say. All the pieces of paper said the same thing: "Be true." Then I locked arms with 2 people and skipped back to the bridge. There was a man fishing there. He turned to us and spoke. "When you look to the future, There is only one solution. It is veiled now, but if you remove the veil, you will see it's only light and love. I picked up my walking stick and returned over the bridge and walked back to Ohio. I jumped on a red horse and rode it wildly to South America. We got to the Amazon jungles, and a large dinosaur bird flew over us until we got to a waterfall. The horse drank as I got off and sat Indian style with palms up on my knees. A large blue ball started bouncing on my head. Then a pink egg rolled next to me and it hatched open. Out came a leprechaun. He lit a cigarette. He smiled and said, "The world is so very beautiful," and pointed to the sun. The sun wants you to know its energy is pure love and that the moon reflects that love. Actually, the most valuable thing in the universe is love. It is the gold I've been searching for. Would you like to go for a drive through the jungle? He snapped his fingers, and a VW bug appeared. He grew in size to drive it. He continued to smoke as we drove through the jungle. We were observing the monkeys. "They have so much emotion," said the leprechaun. "All of the creatures of Earth are so very special and precious. The most important problem right now is the pollution to our environment." We saw a giraffe and stopped to watch her gracious body move. Then we saw a giant snake in a tree. He got out of the car. "I want to show you something." We walked through mud to a clearing where a very large, beautiful white flower was bloomed. A large blue butterfly landed upon it. God put the butterfly here to remind us all that we are trying to do with our souls. We are all trying to transform from worms to a beautiful flying butterfly. He continued smoking. "When I was on Earth, I had a dragon of a personality. Now that I am in the spirit realm, I see truth. I wish to go back and live again. Earth is a school. Our purpose is to manifest our heart's love." He put his cigarette out and began to grow and grow and grow. He grabbed me in his hand, and he grew into a giant that was taller than the Amazon trees. We looked over the land. "See the beauty?" he asked. He then shrunk into a tiny leprechaun again, and my horse came back to greet us. "You must return, but know peace on earth and joy to all is our purpose." I got on the horse, and we rode all the way back to Ohio.